SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Jaho Jifkados.
Morgan Taylor, Jaho Jifkados. It's Jay, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, and a couple things we'll be doing today. If you noticed, it's kind of beautiful and gorgeous out there, but it's also fire season. And just before we had a little batch of snow, we had pretty nasty conditions. Snow didn't help much. And now we're back to where we need to really be careful. So joining us here in the studio is Charlie Harley with the BIA. Is it Fire Suppression Unit?
Fire Prevention.
Prevention, okay. And he's going to talk to us a bit about what's going on as far as our situation right now, what we need to look out for. And I understand there's already been some fires that we've had to respond to. So first of all, Charlie, how are we doing? Is it dangerous? Is it a real mess out there? Or something we really need to look at?
Well, the main thing we need to look out for is all the high winds. You know, on the days when the winds are kind of calm, you know, it's okay to burn your leaf litter and stuff that's in your yard. But always be aware of the day after, because the day after is when everything gets loose. Yeah. The high winds come up, you know, nobody pays attention to the forecast for the next day. They just see what's going on today.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, as I mentioned, you know, we had that little bit of snow, that little mini blizzard we had there. But did that really change anything, or did it make things worse?
It held for a little bit while it was on the ground, but now that the sun is out and the winds are blowing again, our dominant winds out of the south is drying all of our flashy fuels, which the flashy fuels being all the grass that we have around here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, typically after a snow or rain, the leaf litter will hold the moisture in. But we had a fire last night, and we're seeing that the moisture didn't hold that well. You know, the ground absorbed all the moisture, and the leaf litter is dry and brittle again.
Oh gosh! Now let me ask you about the grass that we're dealing with here. You know, everyone's got pastures and things like that where you got the usual. What kind of grass is that?
Just regular Johnson grass.
Johnson grass. And we have the acres and acres of it, and it just seems like it's like fuel just waiting to be lit. Is it more susceptible to spreading wildfires quickly, or?
Yes, after last year, you know, we had all the moisture last year. It pretty much doubled our fuel load in the grassy areas. Mm-hmm. So now we have a lot more fuel on the ground, dormant fuel that's susceptible to fire.
Oh gosh! And now when we say the fuels like that, of course, you mentioned dried leaves that are piling up there, dead limbs and sticks and things like that, and whatever else. And then we've got you know, people have these pump jacks out there. Some of them are in pretty good shape, others aren't. Does that lend more to the problem?
Not so much in creek country.
Mm.
Pretty much in Osage country, they have those problems with those pump jacks and lines like that. But around here in creek country, we don't have those kind of problems.
All those rich Osages.
Yeah.
I've noticed like very low levels of bodies of water. Like, would you consider this a drought time, or?
Yeah, we're in an extended drought type period, and the long forecast outlook is below average rainfall this year in our area.
And so what does that mean for, like, what do you guys have to do to prepare for that during these types of situations?
That causes a problem for us during the summer seasons, because if the trees don't get any moisture in them to retain the water in the leaf litter or the leaves on the trees become susceptible to fire, and which causes the problem of spotting, which ranges up to a half mile to a mile away from the main fire. So with the wind gusts that we get that run from 12 to 20 miles an hour, you know, that wind gust can throw one leaf half a mile and start another fire there.
Oh,
So
wow, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that causes a big problem for us with all the dormant fuel that we have on the ground now. The grass, it won't green up again. It'll just have more green within it, but it'll still be there, which causes more fuel. And
So is dormant fuel just like the fuel it puts off, or like the emissions it puts off or something?
it's the dead fuel that's out there on the ground now.
Oh,
the
okay.
Grass, dead grass. You know, you'll get green grass in, but it'll come in behind the dead fuel.
Okay. All right.
Whoa, excuse me. Choked me up there for a second. Now, we're talking about fuels on the ground. And are there methods out there where people can deal with that situation? I know that our former occupant of the White House mentioned about going to Sweden or something and seeing people, or seeing where all of that stuff had been raked together into piles, you know. And I had seen that in California, and the guy I was working with says, yeah, that's fuel suppression. They get it, you know, where it doesn't keep spreading into one pile, it'll burn like that, and cut back on the spread. Now, is that workable here? I mean, people need to get out and rake their pastures or something.
No, that's not feasible here. You know, what can be done, though, is all the people that have brush piles out there and that want to burn them, you know, right now is not the best time to burn them. The best time to burn them is when we have a cloudy day with a little bit of mist in the air. That way the surrounding fuel is saturated a little bit moisture in it, and the fire won't spread as easy. And that'll give it time for the piles to burn down into smaller piles, which are more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
But you still need to keep an eye on them afterwards, because one little spark can start another wildfire.
Should people get some sort of license to burn, or like let somebody know if they're burning just in case?
Most of that stuff should be done with your local fire department. Just get in contact with them, and they should be able to conduct a controlled burn for you. Some departments may charge you, because most of the fire departments around here are all volunteers. There's only maybe one person that's there full time.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just have to get with your local fire department and make arrangements through
And
them.
it's not expensive, is it?
I have no idea.
It varies. Okay,
from
yeah, I see.
county to county.
Yeah, I see. Well, I definitely think that, you know, if you're going to burn, you should definitely let somebody know, your neighbor or somebody, just in case it gets out of hand. I've seen stuff go bad. You guys had a bad one last night. Can you talk about that?
Well, I wasn't out there myself, but they just told me that it was a couple 100 acres.
Do they know how it started?
Brush piles.
Burning brush piles?
Burning brush piles.
Mm-hmm. And it just traveled
Yeah, it
with
just
the wind?
gets out and creeps along. It's the easiest path it can go through. Then it gets out and finds some more fuel and spreads from there.
So learn before you burn. Now, the crews and the people you have to respond to fires, is it adequate for the space we have to deal with? And don't you get a visiting crew in annually?
Yeah, annually we get some crews in. Right now we have 2 single-engine air tankers stationed out here at Okmulgee Airport, ready to get up in the air and knock it down for us whenever we need. And we also have some 2 engines from Utah that are down here assisting us right now. And that's good for right now, but like I said, during the summertime is the western part of the United States fire season. Then we're competing with resources all over the U.S. So when we have it bad here, you know, it's highly unlikely we'll get any more assistance than we already have.
Like last year when most of California burned down?
Yes.
All those rich people's houses got caught up, and luckily I presume they had insurance, but, you know, you hate to see someone's life go up in flames like that.
And small towns. And it's been a while since we had since 2012, since we had the biggest fire in eastern Oklahoma. That was up there in Creek County.
Mm-hmm.
You know, conditions are kind of right for that to happen again with us.
Oh, wow. That's kind of scary.
I remember that, you know. Going down, we have a couple of plots of land down around Bristow, and I saw where one fire had come up to the edge of the road and luckily stopped. And thinking, my gosh, you know, if it got over into our end of it, and I know there's a pump jack there, and plus we've got all the scrub oaks everywhere, and hadn't been cleaned out in forever. So I was thinking, gosh, thank you, Lord.
I was about to say, that's where you stay up there in Creek County, isn't it? Or close to there? In Glenpool, right?
Glenpool, yeah.
I know that, like, not too long ago, a few years ago, somebody had started a fire in Henrietta with a cigarette. Is that pretty common?
No, that's not too common around here.
Not too common. Like they threw it out and it caught somebody's field on fire. Yeah.
But it does happen.
It does happen, right? Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, the attitude of people who will do that, it's like, where's your common sense? Geez, throw a lighted cigarette,
Yeah.
a burning ember into dry grass, something's going to burn. So.
Yeah, I remember it was summer, so it was dry. It was that time, So
A majority of our problems is with trailers. The chains that are connected to the vehicles, they don't lift them up high enough where they'll keep from striking the pavement.
Sparks.
So when they hit the pavement, they'll spark every quarter mile or maybe a couple hundred yards down the road, and we'll have maybe 5 or 6 miles of just fire.
Oh, wow.
Small fires along the roadway.
I had never heard of that. Like, that's really interesting to know. So be careful with your trailer chains, guys.
Yeah. I had one of those destroy my motor blade once.
Oh, wow.
And there was a stretch along 75 going north, I think, where it seemed like that might have been the situation because there was a fire right next to the road, to the highway, and it went up the hill a little bit. But I'm thinking, what kind of ignition sources?
Yeah. Usually if they're pretty consistent and close together like that, it's pretty much a chain that was dragging.
So, haul them chains up and fix them solid. Now I asked you a little bit earlier about your crew. You got these guys in from Utah. Are they Indians, by the way?
Negative. They're with the BLM.
Okay. Well, it couldn't
Bureau
be
of Land Management.
the Utes or the Paiutes coming down to check you out there. But is the number of people on your crew adequate for what you got to deal with?
They're adequate for right now.
Mm.
If conditions worsen and the fires get bigger, we might have a problem. We were on a fire back in Lamar last week before all the snow hit, and we had to call in they called in not Creek County, but Mvskoke County to assist in Hughes County.
Mm.
They assembled a task force to give us a hand out there, but the winds were hitting 20 to 30 miles an hour. And containment then was kind of harsh because the fire was spreading. Well, it was only 100 yards away, but it was still rough.
Well, even at 100 yards away, I keep hearing people quoting figures of how fast that travels. It's like 100 yards in 3 minutes or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. I'm way off the mark there, but is it really capable of moving that quickly? I mean,
yes.
Is it worse than that? Do you hear?
No, it's not that bad yet, but it's surprising. You always have to keep your head on the swivel out there when the winds are up that high. You got all your concentration in front of you, but you're not really paying attention to what's back of you. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden you'll see a glow back there. Then
whoops,
you have to change your tactics again.
Yeah, aren't you supposed to have an observer or something to kind of keep?
We're supposed to have a lookout, but sometimes we're so understaffed that it's all everybody out there, every man.
Oh gosh, and just admire those guys so much. They're out there in this incredible heat and heavy clothes and swinging those tools. And
That's another thing about our summer fire seasons. Right now it's okay to fight fire because the temperatures are cool and you're still supposed to consume water, which some of them don't. We have to get on to them about that all the time to keep hydrated because you don't realize how dehydrated you get till the end of the day. But it's worse in the summertime because you're
hot,
sweating a whole lot more and losing all your water, and it takes double to rehydrate yourself again. And by that time, you're already down and out, and you have to take a day off.
Well, besides that, if it happens while you're out on the line, then somebody's going to have to drag your tail out of there, right? And then further reduce your effectiveness.
Yes. For one person that goes down, it takes 3 people off the line. So,
right,
we're losing manpower that way. So it's always important to keep an eye on yourself out there.
Keep healthy. Is there any services you guys provide for people who lose their stuff or their homes or?
Unfortunately, no. The tribe may assist with in some areas of that aspect. But we're just strictly a wildfire crew. And this is all we do all year long.
How many guys do you have with you?
At our agency here in Okmulgee, we have about 6 of us.
Awesome.
All together. We have surrounding agencies like Mvskoke Agency and Chickasaw Agency and Cherokee Agency, but in times when they've got the weather that we need, they'll come up and assist. So we can always rely on each other.
Plus, they may have fires in their own district there that they've got to deal with. Yes, Discussion comes around to your crews there. Does it take a certain kind of people or person to come out and join your fire teams there? I mean, when I worked in Alaska, people would talk about these big manly firefighters, but a lot of them were women who were darn good at what they did. So that doesn't matter, obviously. But what sort of candidate would you want to see?
That all depends on the individual. Most of the time, you can tell after they've been on a couple of fires if they're going to stick around or not.
Mm-hmm.
When they first show up for the pack tests, our first initiation part, I guess you could say, is that you can pretty much tell them if they're going to last or if they're not.
Is that the 25-pound running a mile thing?
45-pound and under.
Ooh.
45 minutes and 3 miles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember I took one of those tests once, 25-pound pack for a mile, and thought, no, thank you. I'm going to stay in the rear with the gear here.
I think I could do it because I carry a baby all the time. So
Well, hey, I work with some women up there who are diminutive, about your size, and they were darn good. I mean, they just threw that pack on and took off.
like nothing, huh?
Yeah, tough. Not because they are Alaskans, but
Yeah.
well, maybe because they are Alaskans, and had come from rural areas and just took it on and were great at what they did. Let's take that a step further now. If someone was interested in becoming a part of the team, what's the procedure?
Just contact the BIA fire program in Mvskoke, and they'll get you all set up and we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is though, you've got to make the contact if you want to get into it.
Yeah.
We're not going to go out and recruit anybody or enlist.
Right.
Not going door to door. So
Yeah. Do you go to job fairs and things like that?
So occasionally we do that when it's due to COVID, things like that have
Oh
been
boy.
pushed back for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But occasionally when those opportunities arrive, I'm out there trying to get some help.
Mm-hmm. Did COVID affect your crew at all? I mean, it was knocking people down left and right.
Not necessarily. It's we had to take more precautions in every way to fight that. But
Fireproof face mask.
yeah, it's just basically social distancing and wearing a face mask around each other.
Mm-hmm.
During the fire season last year, they were called out west and just pretty much same thing. They were camped out and just kept social distance, being aware. Hygiene was the main thing.
Yeah. Now, when you get called out like that, and you mentioned it, like camping out, that's pretty much for 2 weeks at a minimum, and you can extend after that for another week, I believe. Is that still correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you should have your own tent and sleeping bag. And
we supply all the equipment for you.
All of it?
Yes.
Oh, well, it would have saved me breaking my back, hauling it onto a plane. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I remember they had a wonderful warehouse with just everything you could think of in there. And, this incredible catering cookhouse situation, and even showers and laundry. And once they got set up, this was Hayfork in California, and they used fairgrounds. No fair this year, folks. Our town's burning down, and they had room for all their trucks and, of course, personal vehicles and things like that. And is that sort of a rarity? Is it harder to find that kind of setup, or are you?
It seems like they're trying to do away with that now.
Oh.
All the big fire camps, they're pretty small, and they're, all the crews now are required to be self-sufficient, so you can feed your own crew and house them and bed them down wherever you need to.
Mm-hmm. So instead of prime ribs like I got, we'd be looking at bologna sandwiches.
Possibly.
Well, I still like bologna. As we're looking ahead into the start of spring and then summer, what kind of predictions have been discussed, or do you got a feel for it yourself?
The only thing that's been discussed is just a below average amount of rainfall.
Mm.
But that's still in the future. Things could change between now and then. But that's just what we're looking at right now. And the main thing is, keep areas cleaned up around your wherever you live. Keep the leaf litter away, keep the grass cut short. Anything flammable, try to keep it nice and tidy around that area so that it doesn't catch on fire.
So is that one thing you guys are hoping for is more rain?
For right now, yeah.
Well, we could all use it, plus that west. Now, they're predicting a continuation, I guess, of the drought season now. Does that spell potential disaster for you guys?
Yeah, like I was saying before, if it goes into the summer season, then we'll be competing with resources throughout the U.S. to get some more people here, and the help we have here, it's not enough.
Mm-hmm. Now, not to get political here, and nobody take this wrong, but is a climate change kind of thing affecting what you guys do? Because it seems like, Tornadoes Alley has been shifting north.
Yeah, it seems like the weather is all shifting to the east now a little bit more. The tornadoes are starting up more in Arkansas and Missouri, and not so much here. And the Arkansas, Missouri, and Mississippi, they're surely getting more rain than we're getting here. They're getting flooded out and stuff like that, So it seems like it's playing a little part.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I won't push any further on that. People get kind of upset when you start doing that. And one of our senators took a snowball into the Senate to say, look, our climate change. But anyway, as the summer progresses, and we're talking about another hot, dry summer again, as you mentioned, you're going to be preparing for that now. Would you think there would be recommendations for homeowners and residential people who might be in a rural area to protect their homes and property? Is there something they can do?
Yeah, just to remove all the dead and down away from your home. Our winds are typically out of the south during the summer times, so just expect if the fire does head your direction, it'll be coming out of the south.
Mm-hmm.
The big problem with the big fire in 2012 was that we had multiple wind shifts.
Mm-hmm.
We had dominant winds out of the south pushing 30 miles an hour. Then we had a wind shift out of the north, which spread the fire even more. So it was just going back and forth on us. But the main thing is just to keep the areas where you live just clean and free of portable debris.
One of the things I had seen is some folks had taken their tractors and I don't know what you call them, discs or whatever. They had to cut up the turf and had made clear spots and circles around their homes to prevent the fire from coming through. That's still a good idea, or is it something
that helps to an extent? It breaks up the consistency of the fuel on the ground, the grass. But what needs to be done after that is to go in and rake it up, because any piece of grass that's connected to another piece of grass that's connected to another piece of grass and a main piece of grass will burn, and like I said, the fire will find its way through there as a little trail, and it'll eventually get out to the other side.
Right.
So if you don't have just straight mineral soil down there, bare mineral soil, separating the fuels, then it's not really doing any good.
Okay, and if you've got a swimming pool, you might want to have a pump.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure that fighting a fire by yourself is too successful.
No, basically, if you see a fire coming in your direction or in your area, call the local fire department, and they'll get a hold of us.
Right.
And we'll let the professionals do it, I guess they say. And, we don't want to see anybody get harmed out there trying to do something that they're not equipped or educated enough to do.
Your little garden hose may not be up to the task.
Yeah.
Two situations I'd run into when we were out in California where people would just refuse to move, to leave. And it's my property, I'm going to fight for it, and if God made me strong enough, I'm going to win. And this kind of thing. I said, well, the fire might have some different ideas there. And I said, we can't make you leave. We're not the cops or anything, but one thing we can do is, give me the contact for your next of kin. And say, in case you don't make it, we're going to need to notify somebody. Does that ever happen here? I mean, people who absolutely refuse to cooperate like that?
We never really put it in those terms to, you have to evacuate. We just make it a suggestion that you may want to leave your area for the time being. You don't have to leave it for. Just keep an eye, be aware of your surroundings, and if the fire's getting too close, and you may want to step away from your house for a little while, then come back. But we've never run into anybody that says I'm, that die hard about their home. And
I think Californians are just used to fires. They're just like, this is fine.
It happens every year, and then it rains, and then you get mudslides, and then it comes back.
Yeah, if I see a fire, I'm out. Bye.
Well, some of those I saw out there were just
scary,
horrifying. I mean, you could see towers of flames bigger than the council house and things like that, and that was no big deal. And you think, my God, how could you get caught in that?
Those were the types of fires we were having back in 2012, where all the trees that we have around here were torching double the length. We were having 200-foot flame lengths coming off of trees. It's pretty amazing.
Were those what they call crown fires, where the top of the tree is on fire and kind of spreads it along?
We don't have crown fires around here. Mainly everything just torches up. Just think of the trees around here with us as just taller grass. Everything was just burning up. There was no torching. Torching is when it runs across. Crown fires are when it runs across the top of the trees, then the embers will fall down and it'll start another fire below.
Right.
We don't have those problems. That's mainly with the pine trees. The leaf litter that we have around here, the oaks and the hardwoods, with the fire coming through, it creates its own wind, and that's what's launching the leaves another half mile away.
Well, I tell you what, Charlie, we're going to have to bail out here and move on to our next guest this morning. But if you had some advice you wanted to leave with our listeners about the coming fire season, or how to protect your home, or what you should be doing and thinking about?
Just keep all your fires small. Keep an eye on them constantly. Don't walk away from them until they're completely out. If you see a fire in your area, contact your local fire department and let them do the rest. Okay,
and if they want to get a hold of you?
If anybody wants to get a hold of me about becoming a firefighter, just give me a call or send me a text at 918-752-7340.
Okay.
And change your smoke detector batteries every 3 months.
Yeah, and watch those chains on your trailer. Okay, well, thank you so much, Charlie. We appreciate you coming in and giving us this reminder of some common sense things we ought to be doing. We're going to take a pause. We're going to take a pause here and be right back with our next guest, Mr. Lowe from the National Council. Stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio, here on 106.3 The Brew.
Hear that? That's the sound of hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here on 106.3, 1240 a.m. The Brew here in beautiful downtown Okmulgee today. Joining us here in the studio now is our National Council Speaker, Mr. Lowe, and our Managing Editor, Ms. Liz Gray. We welcome you both to our program. Thank you for making time. Mr. Lowe, let's start with you, sir. Pretty basic question. What's the state of our union, so to speak, as far as the council in the Mvskoke Creek Nation?
Sure, yeah. I became speaker early January, and, we have 4 new council representatives, so it's been a really great learning process with them. One of them has served previously on the council, but, years ago. So it's And I think at that time, they had several different council representatives per district. So she's learning how at-large voting and at-large, even though I'm Okmulgee representative, we represent the whole nation now, so I feel that just visiting with them and seeing how they're adapting to the current and former council that's on there, it's great. I think we have a pretty good perspective. I think we're going to have a great working relationship because we, aren't afraid to tell our perspectives on certain issues. So, as speaker, that's what I've noticed here just the first 2 months that I've been in, and I appreciate that. So I think we're going to do well and really show the tribe what, it's all about the people. So,
Real basic question. You mentioned she.
Yep, that's Sandra Golden.
Got it.
Yep, down in Mvskoke district.
Yeah, for folks who aren't familiar with our council members. The name.
What's it like bringing in new people? Like, is it refreshing or is it like more of a learning experience? What's that like, having new ideas and new voices?
Sure. I've been on the council. This is the start of my 3rd year, so I'm fairly new myself.
Okay.
And when you run for election and you get elected, it's not like you have this council one-on-one course you can take. So, it's a trial by fire, if you will. It's on-the-job learning, OJT, and, I think even my experience as a new representative, it's finding those that have been on the council to get their perspective, but ultimately it's what you want to learn for yourself because we all interpret rules and regs differently sometimes. So for me, I did ask a lot of veteran council questions, just, administrative things, certain things, but when it comes down to reading the law, learning the law, that's where I take time and learn it myself and then kind of get perspectives of discussion in the committee meetings. But, it's good to see the new ones because, the ones that ran, I really didn't know them before. So now that we're at a table and making decisions together, it's that extra time away from that table where we communicate and discuss certain different items. And yeah, I think it's great to have the new ones on there because they're very curious, just like anyone else would be. And, they have a heart for the people. So that's what I like to see. As
a speaker, do you you're newly a speaker, but do you take a role as leadership or mentorship?
I do. One of my duties is the office manager for the mound building, and on our side anyway. So that staff, they're a well-oiled machine. They've been there for quite some time. I think Mr. Richard Anderson is the newest employee there. He's the PR manager, and I don't even really have to tell them their duties. They just do it, knock it out, get the legislation done. So there's never a moment that I don't say I appreciate them because to me that's what it's all about, and mentorship. We did have an opportunity. We, the council, had an opportunity to talk to the Mvskoke youth group, and we broke out in these little sessions. And I had 3 young ladies in mine, and I got to talk about my boarding school experience in Eufaula, but also got to tell them about all my accomplishments, even as an MBA. So, and how I can use that degree towards the betterment of our tribe and our council.
Awesome. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like you have, really good supportive administrative staff. And you guys it sounds like the council is starting to get into that communication where they're, being able to move as one in a sense, to make these decisions. So what are some of the challenges that you were facing whenever you came into the role as speaker?
Sure. Some of the challenges I feel were, we had a bit of a tough time last year communicating, with the pandemic. Unfortunately, we had an impeachment trial that's still in litigation, so, that's something we can't discuss today. But those kinds of big topic issues it was hard to kind of overcome those and work as a cohesive unit, but we did the best we could. Just like anyone else, we all learn how to communicate with Zoom. So sometimes you communicate and discuss group issues, but you're looking at a black screen with a name on it, so it's hard to read mannerisms and how it is I feel with this particular group. I'm all about mannerisms, and just like we are today, to where we're talking and being with each other. But we, those were some of the technology challenges.
Right.
But I feel now, we're kind of getting over it. We're still doing Zoom, but we've had a couple of work sessions, so we're able to, just whatever issues, I can kind of see people's perspectives, and of course, agree to disagree sometimes, but yet work with them to better our tribe. So those were some of the issues that we could overcome.
You mentioned technology issues. We just had one.
Yes, sir, that's right.
And it was a spam call.
Right.
As you slip in or fit into your position, you're going to be called on to, do things like this, stand up before groups and discuss, where the tribe is and what we're doing and where we're going and things like that. People are interested, and of course, in the internal workings. Now, one thing I do have to do is you mentioned the impeachment, and I know we can't discuss that particular case, that trial, but we had not run into that issue before with the council. So, how do you guys deal with it? As
Yes, sir. This being the very first one, and it's a historical issue with our tribe and in our long existence. So, again, with anything, it was a very, very hard learning experience, and our attorneys have it right now, and I know the gentleman's no longer on the council, but it still proceeds and is with the Supreme Court at this moment. But those were just learning issues that I'd rather not have to experience. But when we take our oaths, we swear to uphold our Constitution. So that's what I do every day when I show up for work. It's tough decisions, but we have to uphold our Constitution and keep our people's best interests at heart.
I felt like there was like a lot of separation, like choose sides. Was that something that you felt you struggled with?
I did,
Yeah.
And I feel when you can't be together and it's a technology-based type meetings, those things can kind of happen really easy. Liz and I were talking about graduate school group discussions in our coursework. It can kind of get that way too. Your class, without even realizing it, gets divided that way. But I felt it a little, so that's, as speaker, to me, that's one of the issues that I'm trying to overcome, to where, and just reiterate, we're all in this together. We all, again, can agree to disagree on issues, but it's the people's best interest is what we need to keep at heart. So every decision we make, I always reiterate, it's not just for that particular council meeting, it's for 3 generations ahead. So that's what we're making decisions
Yeah, I appreciate that. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
One of the issues I think that was people were talking about on the topic of impeachment is a case that was kind of similar to what we saw with the former occupant of the White House. They were trying to impeach him, and he wasn't in office any longer. And you had kind of a similar situation here, so how did you all handle that?
Yeah, it's actually still, in
Okay.
the Supreme Court. Earlier I mentioned Mr. Anderson being our newest hire, but that was incorrect. Kyle Haskin, former Attorney General, interim Attorney General, is now the National Council Attorney. He just started Monday, so that was a huge thing for us. We had Zeke Fletcher as our attorney from Michigan, did an outstanding job for my 2 years. He's been with us for many years. But, we having that person in-house and right there just to ask any legalese, whatever it could be, he's there to give his opinion. I appreciate Kyle greatly because, good or bad, he's going to tell you. And that's, my leadership is that way too. Sometimes you got to communicate tough things, but you have to communicate. To me, that's what makes everything work smoothly. You have to communicate even if they don't want to hear it or not. You have to communicate so people know where they stand or what they need to work on. And, when we were interviewing Kyle, I said, Kyle, my observation of you is no matter if it's what people want to hear and want to vote on,
I agree.
you're going to say your opinion, and it's going to be part of the law. So, to me, I before this was the HR director at Bacone College, and trust me, every day it's about policy. It's all about policy, and people try to skirt around that, but at the end, I mean, you have to be within the rules and regs.
Yeah, sorry, we were talking about policy. I kind of want to get into, I guess, maybe some McGirt talk a little bit, about policy, about, the future of the nation, and maybe some of that policy that the nation is looking at to strengthen our sovereignty with the McGirt decision.
Sure. We've had some discussions within the council about that. Taxation's always the big issue. That's one thing that I would love to see happen as a speaker, because for me, I hear, we get all the calls and we're the voice of the people, if you will. And I've so many times have received calls that we live out in this rural area. We call the county sheriff. We pay our property taxes. They can't do anything because we're Native American or we're Mvskoke citizens. And, well, in the bigger picture, why are we paying taxes, our property taxes, if they're not going to give us the support we need? And, those kinds of things. I know we get calls about, property tax, sales tax. Is there ever going to be a reservation tax? Those things are forthcoming. I wish we could say, we're going to vote and start Saturday, but there's a lot to it. We and it's no secret, our governor's not our best friend. So anything that we pass and present to our public, our reservation, I can assure you that his people are watching us very closely, so they'll counteract and try to get back at us some other way. It's a crazy chess game, but those are the things that we have to play. But ultimately, the goal for me is, I feel, taxation and this McGirt, these issues, even I believe it was Mvskoke sheriff, wanted to do without the cross deputization.
Hughes. Yeah.
And some of in her letter, there was a lot of false claims. And, being a speaker, being able to sit in that war room, if you will, discussion room with the executive branch and the leadership, it's eye-opening to me, because as a regular council representative, you really hear what is discussed from the speaker. So, we discuss that, and, it's good to hear that our light horse wasn't as irresponsible as she's proclaiming, and they were there and tried to help. And, it's just unfortunate that, they took a political role that way. So.
Right. Well, as a reporter, I've been tucked into the corner of a few of those council discussions. Well, not here, but different places, like back in Alaska and actually in Washington, D.C., where you hear this discussion going on, and then you hear the public face.
Yes, sir.
It's like, anybody ever see that movie, Charlie Wilson's War?
I have not.
Okay, well, check it out. It's actually a good movie. But they've got these guys standing around in the halls of Congress making deals.
Okay.
It's like, okay, now if you will support me on this bill, I assure you I can get the Black Caucus to support you on that deal, this kind of thing. So was that what you're talking about, is this kind of a real inside kind of discussion?
Well, it's more of how working with lobbyists and chiefs attorneys, now that if Kyle were in our office, he would have been included in that, how do you respond properly, and our thing is, when people are ugly, you don't give it and be ugly back to them. You show professionalism, and I think as a tribe, we do that every day. And, we're not going to get into a name calling and crazy contest that way. We'll simply answer the claims and show that we are here for public safety and the betterment of our people, Oklahoma reservation altogether. So to me, it was good to hear that everyone had a unison on that front of answering the Hughes County Sheriff's letter.
Right. I believe it's called diplomacy.
There you go. Yes, sir.
I know I saw a definition of diplomacy once at that said, diplomacy is the art of telling someone to go to hell
Right. Yes, sir.
in a way that they will look forward to taking the trip.
Definitely. Well said. I appreciate that. That's a good one.
It's like, it's kind of shameful, you know, on some other people's part, because like I feel like we're coming from a good place. You know what I'm saying? Like we're trying to make all these agreements and working collaborations for the betterment of everyone. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like almost painful to my heart. I'm like, hey, don't do this to us.
And we've, you know, the tribes in Oklahoma have been partners with the state, you know, for decades and decades, and you know, the state's benefited off of tribal nations for, you know, decades and decades, over 100 years, and so now it's like, you know, now that it feels like they don't have a head in the game and it's equaled out. You know, it's kind of, the tone has changed on the partnership. And so that's kind of what I've witnessed over these past couple of years since the decision.
You know, my background is cultural tourism, so I would travel with the state of Oklahoma to several states. We went over to Europe a few times, and, you know, we were sitting in Berlin, Germany, and we had these tourism sales, and it wasn't Oklahoma selling anything in the state, it was Native American culture. And what you'll see on the 39 tribes here in Oklahoma, you're going to get this big Native experience. And me being the only Native representative there, it was great to, you know, I was always called on to talk to these travel agents because, you know, even back then, they were capitalizing on tribal business. So then we finally started capitalizing ourselves on cultural tourism. But now that our reservation is established, you're exactly right. They're worried about we're on the same playing level now. We have the same equipment, if you will. So,
Was Chief Hill said the governor was used to sitting at the head of the table,
right.
And now the table is round.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Speaking of Governor Stitt, as I think we probably should, our situation and relationship with him has just really deteriorated. Gone downhill. It's like almost right off the bat he started a campaign dealing with the revenues from gaming. His appointed tribal liaison resigned on him. Said, "No, you're not listening to anything." And then we've seen, you know, several other cases where it's like, "No, man, you're trying to tear away sovereignty from the tribes, and guess what? You know, that's embedded in federal law. I mean, you know, you don't make treaties with races.
Sure.
You make them with countries and government." Well, anyway, we've gone through all of that, and now he's running for re-election. And, of course, three of the tribal leaders said, no, we're going to go for whoever else, but not you. Yes, and we've got a situation now where I believe he was including his membership in the Cherokee Nation, and saying, "Oh, well, I'm an Indian too, so I know what's going on."
Who ain't Cherokee though?
Yeah. And say, well, you may be, but you're Cherokee in name only. You know, sort of like the Republicans in name only rhinos. And so, what is your assessment now of him, his administrative style, where he wants to go, and possible dangers that it poses?
Yes, sir. You know, he's very vocal. Even his State of the State chief, second chief, and I went up there on behalf of Speaker McCall to hear it. And he, of course, downgraded McGirt, said we need to overturn it, this and that. But one thing that I will say, you know, on his first ticket, he did run as a tribal citizen, got tribal backing. We see people's true colors when they get in positions. You know, I always tell people, watch out who you burn, never burn bridges, because you never know who your boss will be, right? So always be good to people, regardless of how bad they are. One thing that I really did enjoy seeing, and unfortunately the weather stopped the actual gathering of it, the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, they had scheduled an event at River Spirit. I want to say it was last Thursday, but it was the Warrior Up and Boat. So it was and they did a really good virtual seminar. To me, it's not the same. I mean, you know, I would love to seen a lot of those folks in person and visit and just show the unity of all these tribes there. And the other great thing was that River Spirit to show Mvskoke Nation's support in this, that we believe in it so much that we'll host it. And, the whole discussion was, the whole Governor Stitt's going to run again. He doesn't have our best interests at heart. So the way we can overcome his leadership is to encourage every Native citizen to vote, because those that don't think it's important, it's very important to vote. My first, in my election, we had 3 elections, right? And first one was thrown out, but I won by 3 votes. And oh my goodness, you talk about sweating bullets. It was my first go at being a elected official, and to me that says it all.
Those 3 votes.
Those 3 votes, and even though it was thrown out, I had no fingernails left because I was chewing them like crazy. Nah, I'm just kidding, but it was pretty stressful. So I think even on this larger race with the governor and all these other tribes involved, the more we can encourage everyone to vote, it's that important. So.
I was going to ask that when we brought up Governor Stitt, if you guys are going to be making efforts to encourage voting to citizens and your constituents. Yeah.
That was another thing, outside of just Native voters in Oklahoma, how do you encourage non-Native voters to see the benefits of being almost like allies to Native people and realizing that we do need allies in our own state that support our sovereignty?
Sure. And there's actually and it may have started, but you remember those commercials where it showed Native American economic impact. I can't remember the group, it just escaped me, but I was able to sit on a call to where they're actually going to start those public announcements again, but encouraging our folks to vote, and the possibilities and things that could and couldn't happen if we exercise our right to vote. So those PSAs will be forthcoming, and I was able to see the schematics of their marketing efforts, and it's amazing. So they've done their homework and they're pretty top notch. So I'm excited to see them.
It's crazy to think how far we could be at this point if we didn't have somebody, pulling back.
Yeah, it stops progress
yes.
whenever you're too busy, trying to exert your power in some sort of way.
That's right.
The extent of what the council will become is a curious thing for me. It's like you've got new membership. Each council seems to have its own dynamics and personality. What do you expect from this particular group?
I expect a lot of collaboration, not only internally within our council, but a lot of collaboration with the executive branch, more than you've seen last session. To me, it's a matter of just communicating. We, good or bad, I feel, Chief Hill and I can get on the phone, see each other, whatever the case may be, and talk about these issues, if you will, or things, potential deals, whatever the case may be. But the communication, I think, the personality of the council will be a lot of collaboration and wanting to work together. And again, I can't stress it enough, but make our people and our future a priority. So.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm very excited to see what you guys do. Thank you. Is there a number or contact you'd like to leave today?
Yeah, well, we just have I believe it's mcnc.com is our website. So all of our information is on there. So people aren't scared to call me. So you can find my mobile number on there. So please call, text, email. I'm constantly on the phone. I probably have 60 texts and calls right now on the phone. But, again, we try our best to visit with everyone, and sometimes I forget to call people, but we have 90,000 citizens, so sometimes it gets overwhelming, and if I miss your call, I'll try to call you back. Just bear with us. So.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Lowe. We appreciate National Council Speaker Lowe, rather. We hope to have more chats with you in the future as things come along, and hopefully we'll have more to laugh at.
Right. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we're going to have to bail out on that, and we have just a few announcements we'd like to share, and then we'll be getting out of here.
Oh, yeah. So Muskogee Creek Nation has their VITA TCE tax program. You may be qualified for earned income tax credit even if you're single and have no children. So the contact for assistance and appointments is 918-549-2607 or 918-549-2767.
Okay, now here we go. We have been waiting all year to hear announcements about wild onion dinner. Stefambachi. Okay, we're going to be back this year. We've got a list here we're going to share real quick. And we got this from the Oklahoma Indian Missionary Conference. So, the first one's March 3rd, D.D. Etchison, United Methodist Church, 412 West Seneca in Tahlequah.
And the next one is on Saturday, March 5th, Pickett Chapel, UMC, 17610 South Hickory in Sapulpa from 11 to 3. That one's carry out only.
Okay, March 12th, New Hope UMC, 912 West 9th in Dewey, Oklahoma, going from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m.
March 19th at the Tulsa Indian UMC, 1911 North College, Tulsa. Okay, to-go orders only.
Oh, that's my old church.
Uh-oh.
Okay, big set on March 19th in Morris, Oklahoma from 11 a.m. until 3.
March 25th, 5 Indian UMC, 1100 Eufaula, Mvskoke, okay, 4 to 7.
March 26th, Broken Arrow Indian UMC. Boy, the Methodists are really busy.
I know, there's some wild onion cooking.
Oh,
Methodists cook it up.
okay.
Yeah.
Go for it. Now, that's at 20854 East 141st Street. That's in Broken Arrow from 11 till 3.
March 26th, Concharty UMC, 19040 Garfield Road, Okmulgee, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And the 26th of March, Claremore Christ UMC, 315 South Davis in Claremore, Oklahoma.
April 2nd, Springfield UMC, 381194 North 380 Road, Okemah, 11 to 3, carry out and in person.
On April the 2nd, Norman First American UMC in 1950 Beaumont in Norman. That's from 11 a.m. until 3.
And on April 30th, Angie Smith, UMC, 601 Southwest Grand Boulevard, Oklahoma City. That's 2 months full of dinners for you.
Oh, boy, if I could make every one of them, boy, I would be one happy Mvskoke. All right, well, that's the list we have for the moment. If you've got an event, particularly a wild onion dinner, let us know and we'll include it on our list and share it here with our listeners here. Once again, in the last couple of minutes here, Mr. Lowe, thank you. It was so nice to be able to get your time. I know your schedule's berserk, but thank you again for coming in.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Thank you.
And will you be joining us in the future?
Sure. Yeah, by all means. I appreciate what you all do, and I've always been a supporter of Muskogee media. So, yeah, just call on me for anything, and I'm here to help.
Okay, folks, you heard him. We got him now. Any last thoughts from our two staff members here?
No, do you want to hear a funny story about wild onions?
You got 2 minutes, a minute and a half.
Yeah, one time I was picking wild onions for my grandma, and I had like a half-gallon bucket full, and I was carrying them to the house, and I seen a snake, and its head was like as big as my palm of my hand, and I dropped the onions right by its head, and I went and told my grandma if she wanted them, she had to go get them. And she was like, I'm good, never mind.
No jetto for you.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going back over there.
Yeah, that is the one little obstacle that you might run into. Okay, any real quick words, Liz?
Just subscribe to our digital newsletter we have. That's what I'm promoting right now. So.
Okay, we need
yes, subscribe.
Every week we have
plus
one.
our monthly, bi-monthly newspaper.
MvskokeMedia.com.
Yeah.
Yes, and check us out. And actually, on YouTube, Mvskoke Radio, you can find out some of our past issues. Okay, let me think here. We got, that's 30 seconds. Anything real fast? Real fast. Nah.
No, nothing real fast. It takes me too long to think. No.
Kids think about wild. Okay, well, let's see here. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mvskoke.